It's also said that many of their guests who had spent the night in the bishop's room would leave the Ram Inn in the middle of the night, never to return, because of what it was that they'd experienced within the building.
They were able to get out of the windows, I do believe, because the building's built in a bank, so a bishop's room, I would think, is quite easy to get out of. People used to leave in the middle of the night, never to be seen again.
Experts believe devil worship was practiced here and that human sacrifices were made within these four walls. It's unsurprising the ancient Ram is believed to be one of the most haunted buildings in Britain. The medieval inn has been in Caroline Humphrey's family for 50 years.
These buildings could tell a story nobody else can. The youngsters today, they don't really know what history is until you walk into a building. You can smell it, you can feel it. It's so totally different to any normal house. When young people come in, they walk around with their chins on the ground, you know, they cannot believe it.
Paranormal investigator Chris Howley has been studying the listed property for over a decade.
I mean, as soon as you see the ancient Ram Inn, you can see how old the building is. So the energies that are within the building, you should be in for a good night, regardless of any activity. Just the feelings of the history of the building alone that are seeping through every pore of the brickwork, just fill you with excitement, really.
Fellow ghost hunter Phil Jones is also fascinated by the Ram.
I've probably been here somewhere in the region of 15 to 20 times. We went through a phase of, we had so much happening, so much unexplained stuff. We just loved the place, we just kept coming back. At one stage, I think we came here 5 times in 1 year or something ridiculous. But it's just a fascinating place. Always left us with unanswered questions, which is what we want, really.
During a Ouija board session at the ancient Ram, Phil and his fellow enthusiasts had a paranormal encounter, all captured on camera.
And we were talking away, asking questions as you do.
Can you point the glass to who you intend to affect?
And then all of a sudden the energy changed. The movement of the glass on the table became very violent. But all of a sudden we could hear this noise.
What the hell's that?
And it sounded like drums. And I was like, well, what's that coming from? The first thing we do on investigation, everybody turns their phone off because it affects the equipment. And I said to the girl sat next to me, Liz, and I said, that's your phone. She goes, it can't be, it's turned off. I said, that's coming from your coat.
Oh, it is?
This is your phone.
Yeah, but how did that go off?
So she pulled her phone out, and the phone was playing a video of her children, which had been to an African drumming class that day, just like a child's activity. She turned the video off, she put the phone on the table. And we carried on, and the glass was going violently again. And then all of a sudden, on the corner of the camera, the screen just went bright. She picked the phone, she showed it to the camera, and it's just reoccurring number 6s, one after another, across the whole screen. And that was pretty eerie, pretty frightening. You know, our first sort of real experience of some of the bad vibes in this place, and it unnerved quite a few people, that did, for sure.
The ancient Ram Inn has stood in Watton-under-Edge for 1,000 years. It's one of the oldest houses in Britain.
I think it was built in the 900s, but our deeds go back to the 11th century. It's in the Domesday Book saying it goes back to Richard the Lionheart's reign. I believe it was a manor house, it was a tannery, it was also a brewery for the church. So the people that lived here were anything from peasants to royalty, really.
Historically, we don't know too much between 1145 and 1350. All that we know for this period of time is it was predominantly a church house, and it would have been used to house the stonemasons involved in the building of St Mary's Church, and possibly slaves, including children.
The ancient Ram has become infamous amongst the ghost hunting community.
I first started investigating at the ancient Ram Inn back in 2005. My first thought when I walked through the door was, this is going to be a good night. Very oppressive atmosphere, dark. You can almost feel the energy within the building when you first step over the threshold.
Which is exactly how the guests must have felt when John Humphreys opened the doors of the Ram to the public.
John bought the Ram Inn with his wife and moved in with his family to run the place as a B&B. And John has quite amusing stories when they had guests in. They'd be cooking breakfast and they'd have the bacon and eggs in the kitchen on the side. They turned round to grab some toast to put on the plate, and then as they returned to the plate of the bacon and eggs, it had vanished. It's also said that many of their guests who had spent the night in the bishop's room would leave the Ram Inn in the middle of the night, never to return, because of what it was that they'd experienced within the building.
They were able to get out of the windows, I do believe, because the building's built in a bank, so a bishop's room, I would think, is quite easy to get out of. People used to leave in the middle of the night, never to be seen again.
Upstairs in the Ram is the most haunted room of all, one that former owner John Humphreys treated with trepidation and respect.
I think one of the most interesting rooms in the ancient Ram Inn has got to be the bishop's room. I know John used to have a ritual before entering the room. He would grab the crook.
I've got to give you permission to go in here.
And rap on the door 3 times, calling out, "Is anybody here?"
Is there anyone here?
And making the sign of the cross, he would enter the room. Now, John says he used to do this because countless times when he was in his bed at night, fast asleep, he would be woken by the door of the bishop's room being rattled furiously and making quite a sound which echoed through the building. And so John said by performing this ceremony, it seemed to calm that activity down.
I think the bishop very much appreciates that. Just him giving the common courtesy, I'm gonna knock 3 times before I come into the door. It's just like living with someone else, having spirit in your home. And spirit should also respect you too, and your boundaries that you have, because it is your home and you're coexisting together.
The mood in the bishop's room is quite dark, especially at night when you've got the lights out. You've got 3 beds, which are commonly used by ghost hunters to sit on.
Years ago, before ghost hunting was invented, Dad had a paranormal team. They ended up stabbing the beds because you get a very heavy weight on your chest when you're sleeping in there. Or even awake sometimes, you can feel the pressure on your chest. It affects your chest for some reason.
Phil Jones's paranormal team captured some amazing footage in the bishop's room.
3 of the girls from the team went up into the bishop's room and took the spirit board with them and placed it on the table. They'd had some experiences there earlier in the evening. They wanted to try and open some sort of communication, get some confirmation, so they decided to use the spirit board, and they were asking the questions, and they just literally placed their fingers on the glass, and the glass slid from under the fingers. It didn't tip, it didn't fly off and smash, it just shot off the board, and their fingers are on the glass. Can't explain it. The table was level, the glass and the board were all level, nobody pushed it, they literally just rested their fingertips.
There was definitely some supernaturalness going on with the glass moving itself. That's definitely unexplained evidence right there that I would say is supernatural, for sure.
Along the corridor from the bishop's room is another terrifying bedroom.
This is known as the Beaufort room, but also the witch's room. Now, it's nicknamed the witch's room because it is alleged that a witch hid out in this room with her familiar, the black cat, prior to being executed at the stake in the village. During the witch trials, anybody deemed to be doing anything against the church would have been deemed a witch. So they would have been hunted down and forcibly dragged off, and they were guilty regardless and executed quite unceremoniously.
The murdered woman clearly has unfinished business.
She has been cited as a shadow figure that walks across the room. I have witnessed it myself, where I was on the landing just looking in through the doorway, and a shadow passed the door frame coming from this side, across the frame, and appearing to walk towards this side of the room. I came in expecting to find one of the team in here, but the room was empty.
The ancient Ram remains a listed building, so it won't be disappearing anytime soon. And with a past so dark, the future looks bright.
John has left a legacy with the ancient ramen, and I know Caroline, his daughter, is doing a fantastic job in keeping that legacy going. She's keeping the building open, and we still get ghost hunters coming down here looking for the spirits that inhabit these walls.
I love it like my dad did. I feel a bit like Indiana Jones. I'm kind of on a voyage of discovery. I want to find out so much more about it, like my dad did. I'm fascinated by the history and the stories and the things these walls could tell if only they could speak. It would be amazing.